Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee is an influential and forceful voice in Washington. She is a senior member of the Chief Deputy Whip of the United States Representatives. She represents the 18th Congressional District of Texas, situated in Houston, which is the energy capital of the world. The Congresswoman has been called one of the hardest working members in Congress. She has worked tirelessly to bring billions of dollars to project homes and families from flooding. She is dedicated to upholding the constitutional rights of all people. Congresswoman Jackson Lee is a senior member of the House Committee and on the Judiciary, where she serves on the Subcommittee on Crime, Terrorism, and Homeland Security and Immigration and Citizenship. She is the chairwoman of the Crime, Terrorism, and Homeland Security Subcommittee, which established her as one of the key policymakers on Homeland Security matters. In addition, the Congresswoman is a senior member of the Committee on Homeland Security, where she serves on the cybersecurity, infrastructure, protection, and innovation. Also, the Congresswoman is a senior member of the Budget Committee. During her tenure in Congress, Congresswoman Jackson Lee has served as a member of the Congressional Human Rights Caucus, the Congressional Caucus on Women's Issues, the Congressional Black Caucus, and the Aeronautics and Space Caucus, the House Democratic Caucus Task Force on Hunger, and the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation Board of Directors, Welfare, Reform, House Internet Caucus, and Economic Renewal, Affirmative Action and Travel and Terrorism. In addition, she is the founder and chairperson of the Congressional Children's Caucus. This caucus continues to advocate on behalf of children nationwide. And before her election to Congress, she served 2 terms as one of the first African female at-large members of the Houston City Council. Prior to her council service, she was an associate municipal court judge for the city of Houston. Congresswoman Jackson Lee received her undergraduate degree from Yale University, graduating from the honors program in political science. She went on to receive her Juris Doctorate from the University of Virginia School of Law. And she's also a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Inc., the Lynx Inc. The Congresswoman Jackson Lee is a proud wife, mother of 2, and grandmother of 2 twin grandchildren. And without further ado, I'd like to present the Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee.
How exciting it is to be with you this morning and to have the opportunity to congratulate the University of Houston College community health workers, and to be able to offer to you this morning a reflection that I thought of as I was honored to receive this invitation and to have the opportunity to speak with you today. I thought of why we can't wait. Why we can't wait for you, community health workers. Why Houston, why Texas, why the nation cannot wait for you. We cannot wait because you are the light at the end of the tunnel. To all of your families and friends that have gathered, they are in fact the new face of healthcare in America. We know the challenges of healthcare, no matter how hard those who are in this profession work. There has become a certain mistrust and fear, generated not by any truth, but by the conditions, the atmosphere, the circumstances of COVID-19 that none of us ever confronted in this present lifetime. And so community health workers, they were on the front lines, joining our nurses and doctors and our other health professionals, but they were on the front line making eye contact and ensuring that all might be well. I want to give you an example of a community health worker, Cheryl Garfield, who in the midst of this terrible epidemic and pandemic in West Philadelphia, she was a navigator of pandemic loss and hardship. She called on people who were isolated in their homes, people who were sick and afraid, people who could not afford their rent and couldn't get an appointment with a doctor. Just take us back on a memory lane. Just take us back to the beginning of 2020, right after 2019, when there were signs that something was awry. Just take us back, and there was massive confusion in the early part of January. Sorry to say, no strong voice coming from the White House. So we were on our own, and people were trying to find out what was this, as certain cities were falling victim, like New York, Detroit, and New Orleans. People over and over again in the pandemic were getting sick, were getting hospitalized, and we could see the visuals on the television, not having enough oxygen, and yes, passing away. But a bright light of community health workers, and those of you at the University of Houston community health workers were on the rise. You work with the city of Houston to develop the community health education fellows, but you were their partner. And you went into neighborhoods like Third Ward, the East End, Sunnyside. You were unafraid. You educated people. You tapped into people. You understood why we cannot wait. And so as you begin your journey, I want you to understand some of the words of a really old age philosopher. Cicero said, "In nothing do men more nearly approach, men and women, the gods, than in giving health to men and women." That is true. When someone is desperate and unhealthy, how important it is to have those of you who understand comfort, healing, choices that people have to make. In this whole world of healthcare, we know that minorities confront this in a more difficult way. For example, African Americans, the leading causes of death among African Americans include heart disease, cancer, and accidents. But in this year pandemic, that became the highest cause of death. At the same time, the leading cause of death for Hispanics are in fact challenging as well. They are in fact responding to cancer, heart disease, and accidents. Infant mortality rates are high among certain Hispanics, and infant mortality rates are extremely high as it relates to African Americans. Other minority groups suffer in their own way. For example, violence and gun violence have been declared a health issue for the Centers for Disease Control. And what we're seeing in Asian hate is a sickness. And because of the injuries and tragically sometimes death, you might not imagine that community health workers could be involved. We should all stand against the scourge of hatred. And I want to publicly say that I am fighting in Washington to ensure that the president signs the COVID-19 anti-Asian hate bill. We have to come together. And you as healers, you are in fact the pathway of coming together. I earlier said that healthcare, though we all admire it, we all want that healthcare when our loved ones fall sick or we fall sick. Well, let's be honest, there's been a certain mistrust. We've had to work hard in Washington to ensure that our healthcare workers were multilingual, that they had a cultural sensitivity, that when they went into neighborhoods, like an East End, like a Sunnyside, like Southwest Houston, they would be able to know the story of those who are there. That's why you're so important. That's why we have to say the words, why we can't wait. But when you're a community health worker, you're folks from the community. You're there to listen. You're there to provide preventative and community-based health care. You create a sense of trust, a sense of belonging. You say to people that you're willing to listen to them. And when you say it's important to be vaccinated, I believe they will listen. We've been working with volunteers, community health workers, the University of Houston community health workers. Thank you for working with us in our vaccine sites. You see the people that are coming in. My motto has always been, be gentle, be strong, but let them know you care. Why we can't wait. Let them know that we can't wait for them to come in and get their vaccination. We can't wait for grandmother and granddad. We can't wait for those who don't speak English, those who are documented and undocumented. We can't wait for humanity. And a community health worker can get more answers than many others. Your mission of being social health architects is something that you should take to heart, because you're dealing with the social fabric of poverty, maybe drug abuse, maybe domestic violence, because you're going into neighborhoods in your profession that I hope will be one where you're spread out throughout the community. I hope you have chosen to go to places where there is definitive need, just as Cheryl Garfield went in that West Philadelphia community and went to the bedridden, the sick. Oh yes, dangerous work. Dangerous work during this COVID-19 pandemic. Don't think that our first responders and you, community health workers, as you graduate, will not be confronting danger. But we are so engaged and so impressed that in this danger, you're still willing to engage, you're still willing to advocate, and you're still willing to seek opportunities for people who cannot find them for themselves. As I did the testing for these 56 testing sites in 2020 and into 2021, when we first began, oh, people were so immensely frightened. People were chilled by the unfortunate circumstances. And I remember times when I had to, not trained as a community health worker, do what you do best. Tap that shoulder, give that comfort, speak to them in the car as they drove through. Our first vaccination or testing site, we literally were taking a person out of the car because they had COVID-19 as they were coming to be tested so that they could be taken to a hospital. There are people who came into hospitals already deadly sick. They needed the comfort of a community health worker. And of course, not only did they need that, but as well, they needed that in their neighborhoods. And so I'm so excited to be able to speak to you about the importance of this work and to be able to cite the words of Dr. Fossey, called America's Doctor. His words are, to see what these brave warriors are doing in the hospitals, not only giving life-saving treatment to people, but every single day putting themselves at risk for themselves and their family. I just think that the American people owe a phenomenal debt of gratitude for the people. They should just salute them in every way. Following up, Rosalind Carter, the First Lady and wife of President Jimmy Carter. There are only 4 kinds of people in the world: those who've been giving caregivers, those who are currently caregivers, those who will be caregivers, and those who need a caregiver. You are, in the broad sense of the word, a caregiver. And you're, in the broad sense of the word, the same brave warriors that were in the hospitals. You are now carrying the story forward. We're not out of the woods for a pandemic and COVID-19. And so this program at the University of Houston, nourishing and growing the strength and infrastructure and the body power of getting people to be unafraid of healthcare, to getting people to seek preventative care, to going to their homes and wondering why grandmother hasn't seen a doctor, pregnant mom hasn't seen a doctor, adolescent has not seen a doctor. I can tell you that it is very important. The numbers show in 2017, the number of suicide attempts by adolescent Hispanic females was 40% higher than that of adolescent non-Hispanic white females. There are many stories to tell. I am so improved because I know you. I have benefited from seeing your work. I'm excited about this graduation, but I'm excited about the program that will build a pyramid that says that America is concerned and interested in healthcare for all of her people. That's what a community health worker can do. You can point to the default and the Achilles heel. You can point to the need, the desperation. You can point to the need for a helping hand. I'm excited about this new attitude that we're not only taking care of people in bricks and mortars and outstanding, beautiful buildings that are hospitals, smaller buildings that are clinics, but we're taking care of people in the neighborhood. We're saying the words, Mi casa es su casa. My house is your house. We're saying, I am your neighbor, I am your brother or sister. We're saying that community health workers will be turned to by doctors and nurses and nurse practitioners to get that guiding post to ensure that we can make a difference. That is why this graduation for me is so much more important than any that we've ever had. It is in the midst of a pandemic, and it is a time when we must make our way. This is a make way time. We must be way makers, and we must be tree shakers. And so my challenge to you today is to recognize the vitality of your profession, to recognize that as we are here today, gathered with your family members, gathered with the leadership of the University of Houston's Community Workers Program. Thank you, Dr. Price, and all of the leadership. As we're gathered here today, there's someone along the highway of life that needs an outreach by a professional trained in the way you are. There's a homeless person that I passed as I came to my office today, rushing to be part of this graduation. There are homeless persons who deserve the dignity of healthcare. You may choose that profession or that direction to go out to be with those individuals who are in fact homeless. That's my passion. I want to see every homeless person housed. I want to see homeless families and children housed. And I want to see a community health worker go right up to their front door or where they are on the streets and be able to give them that helping hand. Remember what I said, why we can't wait. Why we can't wait? Because there are those who are in great need. So let me, as I challenge you this year, 2021, to let you understand that the power in you can be given to empower others. The power in you can be given to empower others. President Obama said, America's nurses, I say America's healthcare workers, are beating heart of our medical system. That's what you are. But my challenge to you, as you make this journey, don't be silent. I want you to be tree shakers and mountain climbers. And I want you to be remembered by the hard work, but the love you show when you meet that desperate person in their home, on the streets, or in a place where you may find them. Tree shakers, mountain climbers, and to be reminded of the words of Dr. Martin Luther King, that when he looked on his last day before his death, and he looked to the mountaintop, and he said these words. He said that he sees the mountaintop, that we might not get there with him, but he knew that we as a people would get there someday. He didn't think he would make it. He didn't think he would see the mountaintop of opportunity. He didn't think he would see the University of Houston's 2021 community health care workers, community workers. He didn't think he would see it, but he knew that we, with our thought processes, with our intellect, with education, would define healthcare and health community workers. The University of Houston Community Health Workers graduating class of 2021. He did not think he might see that, but he knew that there was a mountaintop of opportunity. Why we can't wait. You are, in fact, close to the angels. Take your challenge, shake the trees, be a tree shaker and a mountain climber. Congratulations to all of you. Congratulations to the wonderment of your family. And I know that on the highways of this great city, on the state of Texas, and on the nation, I will come across a University of Houston community health worker who has found a place in a space that has changed the lives of so many, and in fact, has become that beacon of light and that mountaintop viewer saying, I am here to help. I am a comforter. I'm a healer of your spirit. I will direct you, and we will beat COVID-19. Let's not have vaccination hesitancy. Let's get out there and make it work. Thank you all so very much for having me today. God bless each and every one of you, and God bless the United States of America. Congratulations to you all.